Think about all the great and outstanding tight ends you've seen in your life. I'll give you a second. I'm sure a lot of different guys came to your mind, but I'm going to give you a little fun fact. None of the guys you thought about, not a single one, was ranked higher than the guy you're currently looking at on your screen coming out of high school. The player you're currently looking at is the highest rated tight end recruit of all time. He's not second, he's not third, he's not fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, he's number one. Kind of odd though, right? Because a fair share of people watching this video has no idea who he is. You know what? Let's take it a step even farther. Coming out of high school, he was ranked as the 5th best overall recruit in his class. For those of you that don't understand how big of a deal that is, let me offer you some insight. Tight end recruits aren't supposed to be ranked in the top 10, rather alone the top 5 in their class. They're not highly regarded coming out of high school. To put it in a better perspective, normally when a tight end's number 1 in their class, they're around that 40th or 50th best overall player. Whereas in this situation, the guy we're going to talk about in this video was the 5th best recruit in his class. Taking it another step farther to a completely different level, he's actually ranked as the 113th best overall recruit in history. So he is basically borderline a top 100 high school player of all time, at least according to the rankings and going off of the information we have. I know exactly what you're sitting there thinking. Yo Matt, what makes this guy so special? He has one of those rare yet special player builds where he's a mismatch anywhere on the field. A lot of times when you see a tight end who is 6'5" or 6'6", they're not really that athletic and they can't jump that high. They're just kind of big and got reliable hands. However, Arik Gilbert, the tight end we're going to talk about in this video, not only had size, but he was also extremely athletic and he could even play the wide receiver position if he wanted to. Let me dumb it down and give you an even better example. He had a tight end body, but wide receiver skills. He had good hands, he was fast and explosive, but yet he was inside the body of a tight end. If I had to compare him to anyone, I think a great comparison would be Kyle Pitts, who played for Florida. He was a freak of an athlete. Imagine LeBron James playing football in his prime. That's exactly what it would look like. When a player is this highly regarded coming out of high school, they don't even have to put up good numbers at the college level, and they're going to be at minimum a 2nd or 3rd round pick. NFL scouts don't even care about the numbers, all they see is the size and they see the great potential ahead of him. The only thing that could get in the way of a player of this caliber is if they sabotage their own career. And by sabotage, I mean do something insane that wouldn't only hurt your football career, but you'd probably be put in jail too. Gilbert hasn't necessarily sabotaged his football career, but let's just say things haven't gone the way he hoped they would. I mean this 100%. This is one of the strangest yet weirdest situations I've ever seen involving a top and 5-star recruit. In his first year of college football, things were going great for him, and out of nowhere he quit. Yes, that's right, you heard me correctly. He just up and announced he's quitting football. At the time, he labeled his reasoning for that because he was homesick, yet it would come out not too long after that was complete BS. The real reason was because he had off the field problems going on. What were those off the field problems? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. He officially quit college football in the year 2019 through 20, and he hasn't played a game since. I can't believe nobody's talking about it, and it's not a big deal considering this is the highest ranked tight end recruit of all time. And in today's video, we're going to get to the bottom of it. This is the curious case of Arik Gilbert. Real quick, if you like college football content or videos like this, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, and it also motivates me because it lets me know you're enjoying the content. Yeah, that's all I ever ask on this channel. If you enjoy, hit that subscribe button. Also, leave a like, do all that nice stuff. And now without further ado, let's get into it. To get into Gilbert's story, we gotta throw it all the way back to his high school days. I'd say he was pretty versatile because he played wherever he wanted to. He was literally, and I'm gonna emphasize this, a natural born athlete. He could play any position and he was gonna thrive. If you don't want to take my word for it, here's what an opposing head coach had to say about him. Arik Gilbert is one of the best players I've ever coached against. He's huge, fast, and has great hands. He's the best player on the field at any position he lines up. Once again, let me reiterate, that is the opposing team's head coach. For his high school team, he did a little bit of everything, mainly playing the tight end position and defensive end. Oh man, I just thought about it. We're used to seeing these college offensive linemen, but could you imagine a normal high school offensive lineman who's maybe at max 6 foot, 6'1", sees a 6'5" Arik Gilbert line up on the defensive side of the ball? That's a nightmare. How do you block this guy? At least at the high school level, I'm not too sure if maybe in college he couldn't have played defensive end. I think a main reason he focused on the tight end position is because he was just that much of a weapon on offense. I'll let his numbers do the talking. In his junior season of high school football, he had 1,210 receiving yards with 14 touchdowns. Pretty good, pretty good. In his senior year, listen to this stat. He had 1,860 receiving yards with 15 touchdowns. The dude was a flat out monster monster. Did I spell that right? I hope I did. It sounded right. Let's go to move on. Like we talked about earlier in this video, he was a 5-star recruit, had offers from every school in the country, but ultimately, after a long thought out and hard process, he decided to commit and sign with LSU. I don't want to say it was controversial, but with him being from the state of Georgia, a lot of people thought he'd stay home, but he did go to LSU. For LSU in his first season, which was the year 2020, he was really good. He only appeared in 8 games and he had 35 catches for 368 yards with 2 touchdowns. Whoa, hold on. I know what you're sitting there saying. Yo, Matt, 368 yards, 2 touchdowns? That's not that good. And yeah, I'd have to agree with you, but you'd have to watch him play to understand he had a lot of value on the field. With tight ends, especially at the college level, sometimes they don't get used a lot and sometimes they don't get the ball a lot. In his freshman season, I think that was a great example in case that your numbers don't always tell the story. He had a good year, and also take into account he only played 8 games, and I guess that leads us into our next point perfectly. After playing in those 8 games, he up and out of nowhere announced, "Hey, I'm quitting and leaving the program." Come on now, that doesn't make sense though, does it? A guy who's thriving in his career and has never had off the field issues out of nowhere is gonna leave the program? And he labeled it, or the people covering for him labeled it, as he was homesick. I gotta be completely honest, I don't know if some of you were fooled by this or you were like, hey, maybe he was homesick, but that's complete BS. I don't know how or why they thought people would believe it, but I guess you gotta say something. You gotta realize it's 2022, it's not the 1980s. You can't hide stuff anymore. People are gonna find out. It didn't take too long for people to find the real reasons as to why he left the school. According to a recruiting analyst that goes by the name of Mike Farrell, who works for Rivals, came out and said he didn't leave LSU because he was homesick. Farrell stated that he left because of off-the-field issues. Quote unquote, "Let's finally put to rest the notion that Gilbert left LSU because he was homesick. That's not true. Gilbert never wanted to leave LSU, but off-the-field issues forced him back home." Here's where things start to get intriguing though. It was also said that he was wanting to come back to LSU. However, it was stated though if he did come back, there was going to be quote unquote conditions and quote unquote NCAA hurdles that he'd have to clear if he was allowed to play. So with all that being said, it still doesn't tell us or give us too much of an insight as to why he really left or what those off-the-field problems were. I'm going to throw this out there and everybody knows this. He wasn't homesick, so more than likely it was the off-the-field problems. Now, here's where things start to get tricky. That could be anything. It could be a million different things. It could be grades, family problems, just anything. Now there's 2 more pieces of vital information we gotta add to this story. Number 1, he was dealing with injuries at the end of his 2020 career. Or not 2020 career, his 2020 season. And number 2, and maybe the most important, is that it was rumored that he was frustrated with his role on the team, and that makes a lot of sense. Remember, he wasn't getting targeted a lot and he wasn't getting a lot of action in the games. I mean, yeah, he had 300 receiving yards, but remember in high school, this dude nearly had 1,500 and 2,000 yards a season, so 300's nothing. Fast forward in time, after opting out and missing the last couple of games, he would enter the transfer portal. And strangely enough, or at least I thought it was strange, he would commit to Florida. As quickly and as excited as the Florida fans were, and you gotta remember, even though he left LSU in a rough way, this was still the #1 tight end recruit of all time. And for Florida, with the way things have been going, that was a huge W. Unfortunately though, like I was saying, as quickly and as excited excited as they got disappointed because he decommitted only a couple weeks after. Gilbert came out with his own statement, and here's what he had to say. I have decided to decommit from the University of Florida and re-enter the portal. I will not be announcing my final decision until I'm enrolled into a school and on campus. Ladies and gentlemen, there we have it once again, another fishy situation. Why would you even commit to a school for 3 to 4 weeks? Doesn't make any sense. Last year though, all the drama started to die down because he committed and signed with Georgia, and it was somewhat under the radar. Here's the key piece of information though. Kirby Smart didn't bring him in to play tight end, he brought him in to play wide receiver. Gilbert said, being brought in to play wide receiver, I definitely think I can help the team win. I wanted to be with and near my family. I have been missing all of my family. Even though he was with Georgia, a great team and a great coach, things still weren't going in the right direction. He didn't even play in the most recent year due to personal reasons. Recently though, and I mean very recently, this happened on March 15th, Kirby Smart provided an update. I'm going to read you off 2 to 3 different quotes, but I find this one the most interesting. Kirby said, Arik has done a great job integrating back to the team. He's been here for a while now. He's done the work we've asked him, and he's doing well academically. That last sentence is the interesting part. Why would he throw that in there? I don't know if Kirby Smart normally does that. Let me know in the comment section. To me, I've never seen any coach just randomly say, oh yeah, this player, he's doing well academically. I think you know where I'm going with this. It's almost leading me to believe maybe that was some of the off the field problems. When I say I don't know, I mean it. I don't know, I'm only speculating. But when a coach says he's doing well academically, it leads me to believe maybe that's something he was struggling with. Moving on though, Kirby also said he's not going to be playing wide receiver anymore, even though that's what he's listed at, and he's going to take reps at the tight end position with Brock Bowers. I also believe Bowers is hurt, so Gilbert should get most of the reps in spring practice, which is good. I'm going to read you off these next 2 quotes. They're kind of long, but they're really important to the situation. These are coming from Kirby, and he's responding to people talking about the expectations of Arik Gilbert since he was this #1 tight end. They carry this burden of expectations. We don't place that burden on anybody. I think sometimes they put it on themselves. I think social media does it. I think sometimes media in general does. Arik is one of those guys that carries the burden of expectations. Our expectation of Arik is to be the best person he can be first and foremost, and hopefully be the best player he can be. He's had a really good offseason, he continues to work, but that doesn't put an expectation that he's going to set the world on fire. And last but not least, Kirby added, he's working really hard. He's done everything we've asked. He's fortunate that he's going to get a lot of reps because the 2 guys we have out. I think sometimes expectations are so great sometimes it can affect them psychologically. Okay, some wise words from old Kirby Smart. As much as a goofball and knucklehead that Kirby is at times, he's right about that. A lot of times these 4 and 5-star recruits, they put these heavy expectations on themselves when in reality, they can't even live up to them. Maybe that's a possibility as to why he's dealing with off the field problems. Maybe he's dealing with mental problems, who knows. Gilbert will get a lot of reps in spring practice, but I don't see him playing a lot next year because there's 2 guys ahead of him. He's not going to play over Brock Bowers, and he's going to play in most of the games and get most of the snaps. I'm wishing him the best of luck, but I think it's safe to say he's not going to live up to all the hype that was around him his freshman year at LSU and coming out of high school. Overall, it is an odd situation, and we shouldn't even talk about him setting records or going for 1,000 yards in a season. I just want to see him back on the field. Let me know your thoughts on this down below. But with that being said, it's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Join the family, hit that subscribe button, and leave a like for more. And as always, let's be great. I'm out, y'all. Peace.